something is different about this summer. Not in the way that every new season feels slightly different. The change in temperature, the shift in routine, the calendar turning over into a new stretch of weeks. This is different in a way that goes underneath all of that. There is an alignment happening right now that did not exist 6 months ago. Pieces that have been scattered across different seasons of your life. Pieces you worked for, waited for, prayed for, and sometimes gave up on entirely, are moving into position. Not slowly and not quietly. They're moving with a kind of momentum that if you stop long enough to actually feel it, you can sense underneath everything else that is happening in your life right now. This is not an accident. This is not a coincidence. This is an appointed time. Before we go any further, there is something that needs to be said clearly. You made it here. Not just to this summer, not just to this moment in front of this message, but through everything that preceded it. Through the seasons that felt like they were going to break you. Through the waiting that went on past the point where waiting felt sustainable. Through the moments of doubt, the closed doors, the delays that made no sense, and the silence that felt louder than anything else. You made it through all of that. And the reason that matters is not simply because surviving is impressive. It is because what is available to you this summer required everything that came before it to be exactly what it was. Here is what divine alignment actually means. Because the word gets used loosely enough that it can start to feel like it means nothing. Alignment is not when everything in your life suddenly becomes easy. It is not when all resistance disappears and every door opens at once and nothing requires effort anymore. That is not alignment. That is a fantasy. And it is not what is being promised here. Alignment is when the right things begin moving toward each other at the right time. When pieces that were separated by distance, timing, or circumstance start closing the gap between them. When the person you have become through the hard seasons is finally in position to receive what those seasons were preparing you for. That is what is happening this summer. Not ease, convergence. Think about a puzzle for a moment. A puzzle that has been assembled piece by piece over years, not in one sitting, not with all the pieces visible at once, but slowly across different seasons, with long gaps between the moments where anything new clicked into place. For most of that time, what you had didn't look like much. Individual pieces scattered with no clear picture of how they connected or what they were building toward. The process was slow enough that there were stretches where it was genuinely reasonable to wonder whether there was a picture at all. But the pieces were never random. Every single one of them was part of something. And this summer, the picture is becoming visible in a way it has not been before. Now, here is something specific about the timing of this summer that deserves to be named directly. There are seasons in a life that are primarily about formation, about being shaped, tested, stripped down, and rebuilt in ways that are not visible from the outside. Those seasons are real, and they matter, and they do not feel good while they are happening. And then there are seasons that are primarily about release, where what was formed in the hidden seasons begins to emerge, where the investment of faith and endurance and quiet faithfulness begins to produce returns that were impossible to see during the formation. This summer is a release season. Not for everyone, not universally, not on a cosmic calendar that applies the same way to every person alive, but for you, specifically, reading this right now. This is your release season. So what does it look like to actually step into a release season, to cooperate with the alignment rather than accidentally resist it? The first thing is this: stop minimizing what you are carrying into this summer. The Matrix has a habit of making you underestimate what has been built in you during the hard seasons. It trains you to look at yourself and see only the cost, the fatigue, the setbacks, the ways the waiting changed you, without acknowledging that the waiting also developed something in you that did not exist before it began. What you are bringing into this summer is not a depleted version of who you were. It is a developed version. There is a significant difference between those two things. The second thing is this: begin celebrating before the full evidence arrives. This is counterintuitive. Everything about the way you have been trained to operate says that celebration is what you do after something has been confirmed, after the door opens, after the result is visible, after there is something to point to and say, "See, it happened." But premature celebration, celebration that arrives before the evidence, rooted in the certainty of what is coming rather than the proof of what has arrived, is not wishful thinking. It is one of the most powerful ways to position yourself inside an alignment. Because a person who is already celebrating carries themselves differently. They make different decisions. They hold themselves differently in rooms. They respond to opportunities differently. The internal posture of celebration is not separate from the breakthrough. It is part of the mechanism that receives it. The third thing is this: pay close attention to what is already moving. Alignment rarely arrives all at once. It tends to announce itself in small, easy-to-miss ways first. A conversation that opens a door, an idea that arrives with unusual clarity, a connection that feels significant in a way that is hard to articulate, a sense that something you have been waiting for is suddenly closer than it was, not confirmed, not complete, but closer. These are not coincidences. They are the first visible expressions of something that has been moving beneath the surface for much longer than you realized. And if you are paying attention, really paying attention, not dismissing the small things because they are not yet the big thing, you will begin to see the shape of what is assembling. Now, here is the part of this message that is specifically about celebration and why it matters more than you might think. That this message is not just prophetic, but joyful. The last several seasons have been heavy, not just for you individually, but as a collective weight, a kind of heaviness that has settled across a lot of lives, a lot of seasons of endurance that went on longer than expected and cost more than anticipated. And there is a tendency, after long seasons of heaviness, to become suspicious of lightness, to treat joy as naive, to hold celebration at arm's length because experience has taught you that good things come with hidden costs, that open doors tend to close again, that hope is a liability rather than an asset, that suspicion is understandable. And it is exactly what needs to be set down this summer. Joy is not naive. Joy is not the absence of wisdom or the refusal to acknowledge reality. Joy is the decision to receive what is good fully, without immediately bracing for it to be taken, without hedging, without treating every good thing as a setup for a disappointment. It is the decision to let this summer be what it actually is, rather than filtering it through the memory of every summer that did not deliver what you hoped. This summer is not those summers. The alignment that is happening right now has not happened before. Not in this combination, not with this particular version of you, not with the specific pieces that are now in motion. This is new, and it deserves to be received as new. So here is what this summer holds for you, not as a vague promise, but as a specific declaration. The relationship that needed to shift is shifting. The opportunity that seemed to have passed is returning in a form better suited to who you are now than it would have been when you first wanted it. The clarity you have been asking for about the next step is coming, not as a dramatic revelation, but as a quiet knowing that arrives and stays. The financial pressure that has felt permanent is beginning to loosen. The creative vision that has been forming in the background is finding its moment. The door that has been closed the longest is the one that is about to open first. Not all of this arrives on the same day, but all of it is in motion. And all of it is pointed at you. Now let's talk about what you do with the pieces that are already in your hands. Because alignment is not only about what is coming toward you, it is also about what you are doing with what you already have. Some of what is needed for your breakthrough is already present in your life. It is sitting in a skill you have not fully deployed, a connection you have not fully pursued, an idea you have not fully committed to. The alignment that is happening this summer is not only bringing new things, it is activating what was already there, waiting for the right moment to become useful. So look around at what you are already holding. Some of it is about to matter in ways it did not matter before. Here is the simplest version of everything this message has been building toward. God chose this summer for you deliberately, not randomly, not because the calendar happened to land here, but because the combination of who you have become, what is now in motion, and what is about to arrive has a specific timing. And that timing is now. You are not early to this. You are not late. Every season that felt like delay was actually positioning. Every piece that seemed scattered was being held until this moment, when the ground was ready, when you were ready, when the conditions for what is coming were finally all present at the same time. This is that moment. So go into this summer differently than you have gone into any season in recent memory. Go in expecting. Go in celebrating before the full evidence arrives. Go in as someone who already knows that what is coming is good, not because life has promised you ease, but because the God who ordered this specific summer, or ordered it with you in mind. Let yourself feel the joy of that. Not cautiously, not with one eye on the exit in case it does not last. Fully. The way you would if you knew, without question, that everything that has been held in reserve for you is finally, this summer, on its way. Because it is. If this reached you the way it was meant to, write this where you can see it. This is my summer. Type it in the comments. Not as a wish, as a declaration you are making right now. Over this season, over the pieces that are already moving, over the breakthrough that is already on its way to you. And if you have not already, subscribe. Because this story is still being told, one chapter at a time, and you are not meant to miss what comes next. Until the next one, awakened choosers.